All right, Beds, first episode of the Cheap Seats, our new sports podcast. Are you fired up?
I'm really fired up, man. I love the name.
Yeah,
Let's start with the name. And I'm excited to get in a regular routine with you of talking about sports.
we've been doing it for a while now, a couple of years, here and there, playoffs, Super Bowl, different sports events, but there's so much to talk about. And I think I mentioned in a Facebook post that I'm trying to pivot away from the weekly interview podcast. There's a lot of work to find people and have these engaging conversations and edit the podcast. And I know that I love talking sports with you when we do it. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just make this a monthly thing. We're like, let's do this. Came up with the name The Cheap Seats, which I thought was funny. And we'll just talk about sports, man, just like we always do around the office. And when we do pods, we'll just do it on a more regular basis.
Let's do it.
So, okay, that business out of the way. How you feeling, man? A little sick the past couple days.
I'm Echinacea Chris right now.
Echinacea?
Yeah, man. I'm doing okay. I don't know what happened, man. I woke up dead a couple days ago and I'm slowly repowering. I'm like an iPhone that's like 4 generations ago trying to power up right now.
Love it. You get the beard going though, kinda. So I love it.
Yep.
Been a lot of sports news over the past couple days while you've been sick. And I know it's Super Bowl week, and the plan was to talk about the Super Bowl, and we will get into that. But NBA trade deadline is Thursday this week. I think the podcast is going to go live in the morning. There's been a lot of big trades. In
Yeah.
particular, the Luka Dončić trade, which to me is one of the biggest trades that I can remember in the NBA. What was your first thought when you saw that this trade happened?
So I got the text in the morning, I think in one of our text strings, I think it was Tangway had mentioned it, and I was just like, what is this actually for real? The first thing that crossed my mind was, what did he do in Dallas that they didn't like?
Mhm.
What did you think? Is that where you were?
Well, my first thought was, this isn't real. Just like I think even LeBron might have said, like, was this AI that did this or something? Like when I
Yeah.
first read it, I was like, is this one of those like spoof Sports Center type accounts online on Twitter that you see where it's like Sports Center, but there's two R's at the end, or
Yeah.
uh, Shams with a misspelling in his name? Like, there's no way that the Mavs would trade Luka, who's 25 years old, five All NBA teams, like leading scorer. Like, he's going down this path to be an all time great. There's no way they would trade him for Anthony Davis, who's a solid player. So my first thought was like, something's not right. But then once you dig into it and you listen and you read things, and so it sounds like, man, it sounds like Dallas didn't want to be in the Luka business anymore, and they traded him for what they traded him for.
You had initially the Atlanta Hawks Dallas Mavericks trade, which was the swap of those two on draft day.
Trey Young
And
and
that, yeah, and it was like super confusing that that happened, and I felt like Dallas got the better end of that. Um, so I started going backwards of like, what have I seen on the court that sort of alludes to this move being made? And I guess you just go back to the NBA Finals, and one of the things that I noticed is that, I mean, the kid is just severely lacking in the. I mean, he just doesn't take care of himself, it looks like. I mean, he was very, very winded early in games in the NBA Finals. And here he is a year later, not a year later, but a season later, and he's hurt already. Behind the scenes, those guys are just running the analytics. They're like, he must be a drinker. He
right.
must, he's a Euro, so he's probably ripping on butts.
Probably.
Little shot at Vladi Divac there. I don't know. I don't know. It just seems like maybe it's just a case of they just feel like we're getting the best of him. Let's move on from this.
Well, I think what's pending this summer was, or what was upcoming was I think 5 year, $345 million super max extension that was on the table.
Yeah.
So if they didn't trade him, then that's what they would have had to give to him. And if they do think he's out of shape, and if they do think his health is an issue, then I guess they made the right moves selling high. But I do question what they got back for him,
Yeah.
and if Nico Harrison, who's the GM, and it's hard to know who knows what and who doesn't know what. It sounds like Luka didn't know this was happening. Jason Kidd didn't know this was happening. I find all that stuff hard to believe, but it sounds like he got into a conversation with Rob Pelinka and the Lakers a month ago, and that's the only person he was ever going to trade him to. It's like he didn't put it out there to anyone else to try to get max offers. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, don't you call the Celtics, Jalen Brown? Don't you? I mean, the
Giannis,
Pelicans have several parts. I mean, there are several teams in the league that have. I, let's start with the age. Okay. Anthony Davis is 31 years old. I think Anthony Davis fits very well with the Mavericks and Kyrie. Those two are boys. They have some parts around them that sort of fit for like a alpha point like Irving in a big sort of dominating the basketball. It fits, and they have Clay on the wing shooting jump shots. I like the move with Davis on the Mavericks. I I just feel like there was so much more out there that they could have gotten. Anthony Davis is a stud, full disclosure, but aren't you trying to gain 5 or 6 years in a trade? You know, your Davis is what, got 3 years of a window here. It's almost like acquiring KG when the Celtics got KG.
Yeah, that's exactly. I can definitely equate it to that because it seems like they're trying to win now and they think they have the pieces and AD is going to be the thing that gets them over the hump. I know AD won't have to play center anymore, so he can play power forward. And he'll probably do really well. I don't know that it's enough for them to get to the finals. Maybe.
I mean, the trade is so shocking that it sort of reeks of what's going on behind the scenes. But let's talk about the pile of you know what that the Lakers walk into again. It's just this never-ending revolving door of this stud superstar that just casually walks in the door. You know, AD, LeBron, you go backwards with it, and it's just they just always have luck gaining a superstar. I mean, they got a 25-year-old kid. Let's say he fixes his nutrition. Let's say he gets his acting gear and he's actually healthy. Actually, I don't even want to harp on it. It's just he's 25 years old.
Yeah. And some people would say he's going to a team with the guy that's probably the best at taking care of his body in the history of the NBA in LeBron James, with the amount of money he puts into his body, the things that he does to stay in shape. The guy's basically never hurt. I mean, he's had a few injuries, but I mean, he's doing pretty well for his age. If LeBron can share that knowledge with Luka, like this could be what he needs to take his career to the next level. But people saying he was pushing 270. 270 is pretty big. Despite, I mean, he's obviously tall, but 270 is it's a lot of weight, dude.
When you look at JT on the Celtics, there's so many things that we could critique about his game. The one thing you're not going to critique is the fact that he's in shape.
Yep.
And I love that. So the Lakers.
Yeah, screw the Lakers.
Dude, does it make sense for the Lakers to trade LeBron now?
He's got a no trade clause, and it sounds like he's in to be with the Lakers for the rest of his career. He's doubled down on that. But for a second, I thought like maybe that's what they were doing. You know, they would try to get what they can for their two big superstars now. LeBron, I mean, does LeBron play another year? I mean, he's probably going to, but I don't know. It's definitely not that much time left.
In my mind, I'm like, so he obviously likes being in LA. Like, what if you could kind of get him into that Golden State scenario? Golden State's probably still in this area of like, how can we extend this another year or two? Would it make sense for LeBron to go to Golden State? Mm-hmm. What the package looks like? Could that make sense? Because if I'm the Lakers right now, you got a 25-year-old Luka. I don't know is Luka and LeBron good enough to win a championship?
I cannot see that. They're gonna have a hard time defending big guys. Never mind defending in general at all when Luka's on the court. He's not known for his defense. He's known for having terrible defense. So I don't know. It seems like a step backwards for them in the short term.
I'm kind of cooking up this idea that it makes sense for LBJ to get traded, but
we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see. Definitely a big trade. I shared one more thing I want to mention. I shared this thing on Insta yesterday, and it was this video of, I don't know if you saw it, but after I think Dallas made the final. So they had just won the Western Conference Championship. They're celebrating in the locker room. They have their hats on.
Yeah.
Luka's drinking a beer, laughing, smiling. Michael Finley, who's like somewhere in the front office, walks by and like grabs the beer out of his hand and kind of keeps moving. And Luka has this look of like, what are you doing? And it just kind of summarized a little bit like what might be going on with him is that he likes to drink, doesn't take care of himself. I just thought it was a funny clip now that this has happened.
Well, a young guy like that can actually play himself into shape and kind of keep himself semi-lean. If you do look at Luka's body type, it does definitely reek of he probably likes to drink a little bit. He probably likes to hammer food that you probably should not be hammering. And Finley, dude, that whole thing to me, it's so funny that you're bringing this up. I did see that video, and I do remember it initially. That was clearly Michael Finley's the big brother. I've had enough of this. I've seen this too many times. Not right now, bud. I'm taking that beer. We got something to focus on.
And Luka's face said it all in that moment. Like he was very surprised by it. It was awesome. And outside of this trade, it's not that big deal. It's kind of funny, but like it really puts the trade into perspective when you see that clip. So, huge trade. Probably go down as one of the biggest trades ever in terms of trading a top 5 guy in the NBA without anyone really knowing about it, without anyone really expecting it, probably for the rest of my lifetime, at least the next couple decades. So
I tried to think of like comparables. It's like I don't know, man. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar going to the Lakers, Will Chamberlain getting traded a couple times. I got nothing on this though.
Yeah, no, it's really a unique trade. So we had to start the podcast on it. Like we said, there's a trade deadline coming up on Thursday. So there was another big move, a decent sized move that I'll spend like 30 seconds on. De'Aaron Fox was traded from the Kings to the Spurs, which is a nice little piece for them. Wemby's really making a push. That's like a top 10 guy in the league and future face of the league. So they add a piece with De'Aaron. I don't know that it's enough for them to really make some noise in terms of winning the West, but they're starting to make some moves, and I could see in the years to come that place being a place where the veterans want to go, or people want to play just to be with Wemby. So it's beginning of something special over there, I think.
It was pretty nice to see for them because, these unicorn type players, you need to start pairing them with other capable bodies. San Antonio, probably not the most desirable place to sign, but who knows, man? You put a good team together and it's like all of a sudden people want to play wherever. But I don't know what the Kings were thinking sending out Fox. Apparently they have no chance of re-signing him, maybe. Maybe this is just getting some assets prior to losing him. Good get for San Antonio. I love it. I love it.
It's great. And hey, San Antonio, no state tax. Plus, it's the Spurs. Spurs are kind of like the Pats in a way. They have this reputation of winning and a good organization. So, yes, it's not like playing in one of the bigger cities. It's not like playing in Miami or LA or something like that. But it's a decent little franchise. So,
I have a buddy that says this all the time, Randy. It's with fantasy football also. If you're going to make the trade, don't make the trade if you're getting the worst player back.
Yeah.
You are sending out the best player. Do not do it.
Yeah. And they got Zach LaVine, who is a guy that's won some slam dunk competitions, can play some offense. But, he's just this guy that's been out there as trade bait over the past couple of years. And I don't know. So he's definitely not the best player in the draft. I mean, in the trade.
Isn't it funny how quickly all of these big salaries and these big players and these guys that are allegedly going to be with these teams forever, it's just a couple of years later, all of a sudden the league's flipped upside down. It's so different, man, compared to when we were kids, It's
totally.
The Larry Birds, the Kobe's, the guys that stayed on the same teams. It's just never going to happen.
Yeah, it's like you get Steph, who's going to hopefully end his career as a Warrior. That's probably the last time that happens. As much as we love having JB and Tatum, there's a chance that they're not going to end their career with the Celtics. I would be surprised if they did. Maybe Tatum.
I've been 1,000% convinced, as much as I think JB's grown into a pretty good player. I just don't see it where they spend their whole career together, and I think it's JB that goes.
Yeah, probably. Did you hear about the trade that happened today? Or just now? Nothing crazy, but...
Which one was it?
So it was Chris Middleton from the Bucks got traded to the Wizards for Kyle Kuzma. So little something. Middleton was good when the Bucks made their run a few years back, but he's been hurt the past couple of years. And Kyle Kuzma used to play for the Lakers. He's a decent enough young player, but nothing crazy.
Sorry to interrupt. I think it's a bummer that where sometimes a team will have a guy like Middleton and you have to move on from him. And it's like the salary slot matches. Obviously you're trying to bring in a good player, and then you end up with that kid, Kuzma. Mm-hmm. It's obviously an upgrade, but it's like he's been a career loser. I don't want to hammer on the kid so much. In theory, it's a good upgrade for them, but is it really?
Yeah.
It's just
they're kind of grasping. They haven't performed the way they probably expected to since they got Dame. So making a move. Middleton's been hurt a lot too, so maybe it is an upgrade, but it's not a huge upgrade. It's not like, oh wow, I'm really worried about the Bucks now.
Funny you bring up Dame. It's been interesting to watch what's happening in Miami since they didn't land Dame, and now you've got the Butler situation. It's classic Jimmy Butler.
Butler could be gone within the next 24 hours. There's talk of KD being gone in the next 24 hours. There's talk of him going back to the Warriors. So I do like the player movement part of things in the NBA. I mean, it's a lot different, like we said, but it is something that is interesting to me. Whether it's free agent signing in the summer or trade deadline here, it's always cool to see where these guys end up. So anything else, NBA trades, before we move on to the big game?
I'm going to be interested to see what happens after we post this.
Yeah,
Actually, I say we when Randy posts this.
I got you. I got you. So, all right, cool. Super Bowl week. Does it feel like Super Bowl week for you? It doesn't for me. It's weird.
Is it because our team really hasn't been relevant for a couple years and it's like football's on the back burner in our minds, maybe?
That and a combination of I just don't love the two teams that are playing.
Yep.
And it's a rematch of a Super Bowl from 2 years ago that it'll probably be a good game, and we'll dig into all that stuff in a second. But I don't know. I'm just not excited about it because I don't think I want KC to win. I don't think I want Philly to win. So it's just like, okay. I wish there were some other teams that made it.
Mahomes is creeping into the Brady area and I don't like it.
Creeping. Jesus, he's freaking barging into it. He's the man. You look at some of his stats at this point in his career versus Brady's at that same point in his career, and Mahomes has a slight edge in a lot of the categories. So he's got a long ways to go, but he's definitely very much on that Brady trajectory, and winning this Super Bowl would not help with that. So is that a thing we should care about? Because I've been listening to some things, and people should we embrace the greatness and Brady was great, or should we be possessive about Brady and not want him to succeed?
I think it's both. I think one of the things that I keep going back on is that Brady has a couple of wins against Mahomes to sort of like anybody that really wants to anoint Mahomes. It's like, hey guys, don't forget, the 18 AFC championship in the first year with Tampa Bay. And Brady almost has like three areas of his career. The area that Mahomes is in right now, I wouldn't describe it as like a offensive eccentric type of run for Brady during that timeline. It was like, granted, the Rams started to build the offensive flow in that area of timeline for Brady. There wasn't a lot of offense, but it was starting to creep up a little bit. Right now, it's all offense.
Yeah.
So Mahomes is sort of in this area of where you can't touch the quarterback, you really can't touch the wide receivers. So it's like I have a little bit of an issue with that comparable right now,
Yeah.
but you can't deny greatness in when your team is winning all the time, like they are, and the
Mhm.
stats are looking better. People overlook, what went on during that decade versus
Yeah.
this decade stuff. I don't know. What do you think about that stuff?
Yeah, the first 40% of Brady's career was a different era of football. And his offense really took off in the last half of his career, and that's the time that Mahomes is playing in right now. So I guess that does equal things out, but I think the further and further away we get from that stuff, the more that is kind of in the past, and people don't. That's just something that we can hold on to and we can think
Yeah.
about. But like 20 years from now, people wouldn't really probably break that down. They would just look at the overall. And I'll tell you what, man, Mahomes is freaking scary. I was telling someone when it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and the Chiefs have the ball, it's like anything could happen, man. It really could. He's so good at making decisions, and you don't think of him as some mobile guy, but the guy makes moves with his feet. Um, he's the man. So
He is the man. You can't deny it.
yeah.
So, what are you thinking about the game?
Well, let's go over some numbers here.
Okay.
So the Chiefs are the favorite. They're 1.5
Yep.
point favorites, down a half point from where it opened. So that's in a weird zone. 1.5. I mean, it really is like a 50-50 game at this point.
Yep.
So yeah, Chiefs minus 123 money line, Eagles plus 103. So again, that further means it could be anyone's game. What I'm hoping happens, and I guess what I think happens, I'm just going to say it's what I think is going to happen. I think Saquon has a big game, and I
Yeah.
think this ends up being the Saquon Super Bowl where he has a bunch of touchdowns, has some memorable runs, puts up a bunch of yards, throws the
Yep.
Eagles on his back, and that
Yep.
they end up winning the Super Bowl.
And I think what that means is like tick, tick, tick. The clock is running when the ball is being run.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And like the longer that football is in the Eagles' hands, that means the less it is in Mahomes. I think that's the key to the football game. If the Eagles are going to win, I'm not piggybacking your thought, but it's just exactly what needs to happen in my opinion. It's
And Eagles are actually playing pretty well. I mean, they didn't play well most of the season, but they played well in
yeah,
the playoffs. They've had some big wins. They really shut down a decent enough Washington team. Defense played good. Like, if they control the ball with Saquon, I don't know. I think anything's possible. So, a couple of things on Saquon. Can I share some stats with you?
hell yeah, let's dominate this.
So, Saquon is 30 yards away from surpassing Terrell Davis for all-time most rushing yards in a season. That number is 2,476 yards. So, that's pretty solid because you can always say, hey, they added this 18th week, 17th game. Saquon did not play in that 17th game. So it really is an apples to apples comparison, despite the number of games on the schedule. So that's a solid stat right there.
That's a Super Bowl winning Terrell Davis too.
That is, I mean, that stuff got him in the Hall of Fame. Terrell Davis was the freaking man back then. I mean, didn't have a long career, but had some really dominant seasons. So Barkley led the NFL in rushing yards, 2,005 yards. He's the 5th player to lead the league in rushing yards and make the Super Bowl, with Terrell Davis being the last one to win it in 1998. So Barkley aims to achieve a historic season of NFL rushing leader, offensive player of the year, and Super Bowl win. Only 5 players have done that. So, typically the offensive player of the year is like a non-quarterback skill player. He'd probably be on track to get that. That award hasn't been given out yet. He obviously is led the league in rushing yards, and if he wins a Super Bowl, he'd be getting all those 3. So some pretty cool things. So he turns 28 on the Super Bowl, which is big day for him. So it's gonna be awesome, dude. I'm looking forward to him.
How in the fuck do the Giants let him go? Like, how does that happen?
It makes no sense.
It makes 0 sense. Dude, that's an impressive list right there. Jamal Lewis, Priest Holmes, Terrell Davis, Walter Payton, Marcus Allen.
Those are the guys that have led the league in rushing, offensive player of the year, and Super Bowl win. So it doesn't happen all the time, man. So he could do something special, and I think he will. And obviously, I'm hoping that that's the case, but I think it's very realistic that it happens. Just the way he's been playing, the way he's been running the ball, he's healthy. I'm sure he wants to really put it in the Giants' face one last time, like he's been doing all season. So,
yep. You played football. I've only watched a lot of it, and I always come back to this one opinion about football. It starts and stops at the line of scrimmage, and obviously the Eagles have shown that they're very tough at the line of scrimmage offensively, but man, they have a couple of dogs on the defensive line. And it's like, it brings me into this area of like when the Giants conquered us in 2007, where it was like they were only rushing 4 that whole game, and we could not stop that defensive line. I kind of feel like that's going to be another factor in this game, is if Philly can kind of hold that line of scrimmage defensively and, allow those linebackers to kind of sit in pass coverage a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
Between the rushing and hopefully those guys holding the line down, I'm making the case for I don't want to see Mahomes win another Super Bowl.
Yeah. So then let's make some picks.
Okay.
I will take, and it's okay if you're doing the same thing, but I'd take Philly getting 1.5. I feel pretty good about that. Would you do the same at this point?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So over under is 48.5 points, which doesn't seem like that much. I don't know why it's that low. Last time they played 2 years ago, they put up 73 points, which is the 3rd highest in Super Bowl history. So is it Eagles hammer the over? I don't know. It seems.
I don't know, man. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. There's going to be a lot of scoring, and if the game's coming down late where a team needs to catch up, it's just going to be a track meet. I don't see why it would be the under.
Yeah, 48 points is, what is that? 24 type thing? 25, 24? That's very reasonable to score in a Super Bowl with the offensive weapons they have. So, anyways, I'll take Eagles in the over on that. And
we're being pretty boring here. I'm going to take the same thing.
Yeah, I talked you into it. It's no big deal.
Did you calculate our picks, by the way? Did you dominate me?
I'll have to do it in more of like a social media post, but I will say we can revisit that for a second. I think you had, was it Buffalo and the Packers in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And I had the Ravens and the Lions, which I felt pretty good about.
Yeah.
Who would have thought, man? We should have just known. Shouldn't have bet against Mahomes early. And we were not even close.
Okay. All right. I was just going to brag that I was one team closer to being right, though.
Oh, so because Buffalo made it to the AFC Championship?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I feel real good about my picks. And at the time I did, when we went to the playoffs, I was like, it's going to be Baltimore and Detroit. I bet money on it beginning of the season, had some good odds. And I'm like, they're in great shape to do it. I still think Baltimore is the best team in the AFC.
Yeah.
And, maybe Detroit wasn't in the NFC, but could have easily been those two teams. Same for Buffalo. Probably not so much on Green Bay. Seems like they were kind of limping into the playoffs. Had a feeling they weren't going to make it too far, but any of the other 3 teams could have easily made the Super Bowl.
This Lions team reminded me of the 15 season of the Pats. Just so many injuries. It killed them. It killed them. The Super Bowl is inside. It's at the Superdome.
Down in New Orleans.
Dude, track meet. Going back to that track meet. Hammer the over.
I heard the cost for tickets were pretty low compared to past Super Bowls. I don't know if people don't want to go down there because of interest in the teams or any concerns about New Orleans or whatever, but this might be the year to go to the Super Bowl. Not for me, but for somebody.
You want to go?
I do want to go. Like, is that a thing for you? Do you want to ever go to a Super Bowl?
I would like to, yeah. I think, like, the kids' situation over the years, it's like it never really seriously put it in play for me. I mean, I guess I could always went, but I don't know. Now that the kids are out of the house, I could easily see myself on a Friday afternoon buying tickets and going to the game on a Sunday.
Shooting down there?
Yeah.
I regret not going when Brady was playing.
Man.
Yeah.
Me too.
In hindsight, it was stupid. Could have both easily could have pulled it off, but never did because of family stuff or whatever the reason was. But obviously, we'll never get that one back. But yeah, I'd like to go to Super Bowl at some point, just see what the whole scene's all about. And
yeah, same.
You're probably looking at like $3,000 to $5,000 for not great tickets, but be a cool little bucket list thing.
Yep, agreed.
So, do you want to go over a bunch of the prop bets?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not keeping track of them to say who's going to win any of these things or not, but just some interesting ones. Will Taylor Swift be shown during the national anthem?
Oh my God, absolutely.
Plus 350. That should be plus 10,000, right? I mean, of course they're going to show her. So first play, run or pass, whatever. It's minus 140 for a run, plus 110 for a pass. Just whatever. It's really a coin flip scenario. Say pass.
I'll go run. National anthem length.
So I'm surprised this is even allowed, if I'm being honest with you. Like, can't people know this ahead of time? Right? When, like, isn't this guy going to rehearse this or something someplace and people will listen to it? Or, like, the guy's named John Batiste.
I mean,
doesn't he have a performance of the national anthem somewhere on tape? I have notes of, he's playing the piano, so it's going to be an elaborate introduction, so it's potential for it to go over, but I don't know.
So it's over 121 seconds. What's Randy taking?
I'll take the over.
Same.
Yeah, take the over. All right, so this one's interesting. Number of the first touchdown score. Is their number, jersey number, 15.5, over 15.5, or under 15.5? So people that are... And I have this list of people that are under it, and it's just you're looking at the same list too. But Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Patrick Mahomes, those guys are under. You have like Saquon's up above that, Kelsey's above that. So yeah. I'd probably take the over on that one.
It seems super obvious to take the under, but well, man, yeah, I guess. You know who I'm going to pick? I'm going to say Travis Kelce has the first touchdown, and then I'm going to they're going to show everything Travis Kelce, and then they're going to pan up to Taylor. And all of us, like, annoyed anti-KC Chiefs people are going to be like, oh, of course they're showing Taylor.
Is he going to have a good game?
In theory, he should. I mean, they've been... You can tell the last 2 years he's on a pitch count. They save him for the playoffs. They milked that cow last year. They're sneaky talented, though. They got Hopkins, Worthy, Hollywood Brown... they got some good running backs. They're like sneaky. They're like annoyingly. They're like the Pats.
They got decent running backs too, man. Like you said, Pacheco, Piran, guys that make plays. Yeah, it's very frustrating. But I do think Kelce has a big game.
Yeah,
he's been saving all season for this one. Okay, distance of Mahomes' first touchdown pass: over 9.5 yards, under 9.5 yards.
I'm gonna go under.
I'll go under too. Be something around the goal line. He'll be rolling out. He'll hit Kelce somehow. Will a 300-pound player score a touchdown? Yes is plus 2,500. No is minus 10,000.
Man, is there anybody 300 pounds that tackle eligible, basically?
Or a fumble return for a touchdown or something? I mean, I'd think no. It's minus 10,000 though. So,
Randy, I'm going to go with a tackle eligible touchdown.
Oh, wow.
Andy Reid's going to get in his bag. He's going to, say something to his OC, and they're just going to have this awesome touchdown play that, again, makes me annoyingly jealous.
Plus 2,500, dude. So, okay, How about this? Will Saquon rush for over 150 yards? Yes is plus 250. No is minus 300. Dude. I would take yes. I'm looking for a big game from him.
I think he actually challenges the all-time record. I mean,
Yeah, dude. He's rushed for 150 yards 6 times this season. Again, he's playing well, man. He's looking good. I'm thinking over on that one for sure.
I have to Google it, but it's Timmy Smith, and I think it's 210 yards? Timmy Smith.
Timmy Smith? That's not a running back name. I actually don't recognize that name.
Super Bowl.
While we're doing this, will either team trail by 14 points and come back to win?
No.
Yes is plus 7,700. No, minus 2,000. Yeah, I would still take no on that. I think it's closer game throughout on that one.
Yeah. Timmy Smith had a 204 rushing yard day.
And that's the record?
That is the record.
Ooh, I would like Saquon to beat that. I haven't seen the odds on that yet, but
Rand, does he do it?
I think he's flirting with it. It'd be a really, really good game. I think he's flirting with it.
Man, it just seems like it should be the way that it's going to go. It's inside. Elements are controlled. Man, if that kid gets his foot in the ground and there's a hole, he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, the way he started out that last game, 70-yard touchdown. Jesus. Yeah, dude. I don't hate it. All right, there's a whole bunch of other prop bets. I'm just going to pick some out. Feel free to pick some other ones out, too, if anything catches your eyes. But this one I thought was funny. But Travis Kelce, highest speed under 15.5 miles an hour. That's not that fast by NFL standards. Like a lot of these guys went like 20, 21 miles an hour. I don't think he exceeds that. He's a possession guy at this point. He's a catch the ball and maybe run for a couple yards, but he's not getting out in a full sprint.
I'll take the under on that.
Yeah.
What else do we have here?
So Jalen Hurts over 225 yards passing.
I'm going to take the under.
Take the under on that.
Yep. What do you think?
He hasn't been that good this year.
I don't think he's had to be.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'll take the over on the 225, but that's what it is. So Xavier Worthy with an anytime touchdown. His odds are plus 165. I could see him getting in the end zone for KC.
That kid's a playmaker. I like that. I agree with that. Jalen Hurts under half an interception.
I take the over on that. What's the odds? Did you see what the odds are on that?
Let me see here. Minus 125.
Yeah. I'd take the over on that.
So go ahead. Well, this is one of those ones where I'm like, really, this is all it is? DeAndre Hopkins over 1.5 receptions, plus 105.
How many receptions did he have in the AFC Championship game? I really feel like I didn't see him much. So despite having him and him being good, he was not that present in that game.
I felt like his first reception was in the third quarter. I could look that up actually while you're.
Yeah. I mean, don't feel like you have to, but if you like Kelce, here's one. Kelce to have over 87 yards receiving and score a touchdown, that's plus 450. If you're thinking Kelsey's going to have a good game, the touchdown thing I think is very doable. The 87 yards is probably going to be, 7 catches for him to get to that point. So whether or not he gets 7 catches is the other story.
I worry about yardage with him now.
Yeah.
That's the thing with him.
It's like, is he going to be like a 40-yard and a touchdown guy? That seems more realistic for him.
Oh my God, Randy. DeAndre Hopkins only had 1 catch last week.
So that's why they're setting it at what they are. He just hasn't been that present in the offense. He's probably going to blow up now that we say it, but I don't know if he's more of a decoy at this point.
A.J. Brown, under 5.5 receptions, minus 141.
I would take the over on that.
Yeah, I like the over too. Man, they're so stacked. They got him, Devontae Smith. They got a boss running back, good quarterback. Man.
Yeah, no, they're good. Mahomes, rushing yard, over 28.5 rushing yards.
He's always good for a 20-yard scamper. I'd hammer that over.
The Super Bowl. Longest run for Saquon, 24.5. I'd take the over on that.
Hammer.
Absolutely.
Wow, we're pretty boring right now.
What's that?
So we're pretty boring right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny things to consider. There's all kinds of different over-unders and things to consider, but are you going to bet on the game?
Man, I have been
bad. Are you going to do the things
that
that we just talked about? Or are you going to just try to come up with something?
Yeah, I'm going to cook something up. I'll probably... I like that longest run by Barkley. I like the scamper from, I've used the word scamper for Mahomes. And I like those over receptions for A.J. Brown, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, so last year I nailed a parlay. This year I just nailed another parlay. No big deal.
And you lost 47 straight parlays before that.
Are you going to
Uh,
bet?
I don't know. I probably will. I'm not a huge bettor. Like I know that you guys are always talking about different bets that you guys are doing in the text strings. I am not. I don't know. I don't know enough about things, and it's just like a lot of times I'm so busy that I don't even sit down to grab the DK app and go through it. But I probably will for the Super Bowl just to make it fun. So
So Randy barely drinks now. Randy barely gambles.
I just play pickleball.
Big pickleball guy.
Yeah. No drinking, no gambling, just play pickleball. So, MVP odds: Mahomes plus 105, Saquon plus 240, Hurts plus 375, Kelsey plus 1500. So, you know, it's no fun, but like I do think it's the Barkley game. So plus 240 might not be bad, you know. And if you think Hurts has a big game, plus 375, I can't see the Chiefs winning and anyone but Mahomes winning the MVP. You know, and that's why the odds reflect what they are. But Kelsey's not going to win the freaking MVP.
So we're obviously thinking Barkley. This is the way the conversation's leaning. Let's say it doesn't go the way that we're expecting. Who's the MVP?
Mahomes. If it doesn't go, if Barkley doesn't have a big game, then I don't know that Philly wins. And in that case, if the Chiefs win, I don't know who could possibly be MVP outside of Mahomes, just because Mahomes is everything to him. You know, there could be some receivers that catch some touchdowns, get some yardage, but I'm sure it'll be Mahomes making some plays at the end of the game to get them the win. And outside of like a fluke where a defensive guy has 2 pick sixes or something like that, which has happened in the Super Bowl, and defensive players have won the MVP, I just can't see how an offensive player gets it ahead of Mahomes.
So you have Barkley, you have Mahomes. I agree with that. If the Chiefs win and it's not Mahomes as the Super Bowl MVP, you default to Kelsey. But is there somebody in there that maybe you throw a couple bucks at it and you're like, this might hit pretty nicely? I
I don't know if there's any defensive guys that have long odds, but maybe there's a guy that has a couple forced fumbles. Your 300-pounder scoring a touchdown on a fumble recovery,
no big
something
deal.
that's really like making some noise, adding some pressure for Hurts. That is what I could see happening. But I just, again, who's going to win the MVP? Worthy, unless Worthy has like 12 catches and gets a reverse for a touchdown or something like that.
It's so funny you say that because I was looking at his name. I was looking over the KC stats. I think it would be, it's like a Kareem Hunt worthy poo-poo platter. That's basically, yeah. I don't.
They just seem to spread it out, right? Mahomes is always finding random guys, kind of like Brady did. You know, you think about when Edelman won the MVP, it's because he had a whole bunch of receptions. And again, it would take one guy having a bunch of receptions and maybe a couple touchdowns for whoever votes on those things to choose that person over Mahomes. Otherwise, it's like I just don't know how you can. So that's why I say a defensive player that really disrupts the line of scrimmage, causes some fumbles, takes one in for a touchdown, and you can really point to that person as a difference maker. But I don't know what the odds are on that. Probably, again, plus 10,000.
We just mentioned a bunch of Patriots there. Are we close to allowing you to take your victory lap?
Well, I'm always taking victory laps on the Vrabel pick. I'm so freaking pumped about Vrabel that I just can't wait for the draft, which we'll talk about on future podcasts. Like, let's go, man. Let's start the season again. I'm back.
It's exciting to go into an off season knowing that at least the coaching is in place. I think one of the things that sort of pulled us apart was the fact that everybody was poaching from us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we lost front office guys. We lost guys like Dable, second tier guys that are, in the league right now. It's like, I can go name after name, but I don't want to bore everybody. We were so poached by the time we were, hiring Matt Patricia to run our offense. Believe it or not, that was the thing that made sense considering what was happening to us. And then even with the Mayo thing last year, Randy, who the hell was going to join Mayo? Like, he didn't even have guys. He didn't have guys. So who was going to...
You know Matthew Slater was an assistant coach? I didn't even know he was an assistant to the head coach until they just decided not to retain him, which kind of bummed me out considering what a great Patriot is. But, yeah, who's his guys?
We have Coaching. I'm excited about it. And we have an alpha. I'm excited to see what goes on with Josh McDaniels, dude.
I'm freaking pumped about McDaniels. Like, let's
Uh,
go.
I heard he was sort of in this thing where he was present for KC stuff, which was really interesting to hear. I know that he scouted in some college settings. Like,
Mhm.
it seemed like he was really working on his craft the last year. And I think he's got something cooked up for Drake May. I'm excited about it.
Cannot wait, dude. So we will do a draft preview pod where we
Yeah.
talk about, what predictions are and who we're hoping to get with the fourth pick and breaking a bunch of things down. So we'll definitely plan on that to come in the next couple months. But a lot to look forward to. So anything else you want to add about the Super Bowl, dude?
No, I just hopefully we're in an area where Mahomes is not creeping in on Brady.
Yeah, go Philly. Go Saquon.
Let's go.
So, all right, dude, that's the first episode of the Cheap Seats. We'll be back. We're going to do this every month. So, probably that first week of the month. Got a whole bunch of different things to talk about. We'll have, playoff basketball or end of the season basketball, Masters, draft, fantasy stuff in the fall. There's a whole bunch of things that we're going to talk about, along with any breaking stories. So, excited to be doing it with you, dude.
Let's do it. Same here, buddy.
All right, pal. We'll see you in a month.